get more insight, notably on the trade relations, we can speak now to Senior Fellow at the Bruegel Institute, specialising in emerging markets, notably on Asia and Asia-European related affairs. Alicia García Herrero, thanks for your time and joining us. Can I start simply by asking you, firstly, we just heard it mentioned there at the end of that report, this trade deficit between China and the EU. You know, how far do you think Macron might be able to get Beijing to move on that one, and what will he use?
Well, China has no intention to reduce the deficit. Actually, it will probably hit 400 billion this year, as high as 2023. So we're not going to reduce our deficit. Our exports to China are actually growing negatively double-digit, while our imports are growing positively double-digit. So do not expect Macron to be able to change this, also because China has much more leverage. It can hit us with export controls, and we don't really have that kind of weapon to threaten China to reduce or to actually maybe import more from us or export less to us. So I don't think that's going to be able to change during this meeting with Macron.
We have indeed seen China use its pressure recently. In fact, just in October, it threatened to suspend exports of rare earth minerals, a major area that it does have power. It's suspended it for a year, but the threat is still there. Where do you see that going?
Well, we have a year to get ready. We know that we're working on our economic security now to probably put some money on the table to be able to refine or find somebody to refine for us 17 rare earths, which is very difficult. Japan has been trying to do this since 2010, and it still depends 62% from China. Japan is extending basically a helping hand to Europe, which Europe should take to basically cooperate with Japan to refine some of the rare earths that Japan is still not able to refine. So basically do this together. And the Commission is going to put some money, I heard around 2 billion, to do this. Hopefully, again, with some cooperation with Japan. Also, the UK has its own plan at 500 million sterling. So we all need to cooperate to reduce our dependence on China on rare earth. That's very clear. But China will not give us the solution. That's not going to come from Beijing. It's a big, big plus for them.
These rare earth minerals, for anybody watching, I mean, they're so valuable in today's world, from green energies to electric vehicles to all of our telephones or our computers. The EU seems to have fallen really far, far behind, not just China, but the US and other countries when it comes to securing their security, if you like, in accessing these rare minerals. Any idea why? And, you know, what exactly is it doing now? Is it doing enough or too little too late?
Well, we fell behind because we thought it was not strategic. It's actually, if you look at the actual amount, say gallium, the gallium market, which is essential for military precision weapons in particular, is only around 1.2 billion. The global market is actually not something that countries thought China could weaponize, because in a way it is such a small part of the pie. But of course, the minute that everybody else stopped producing or refining, partially because of environmental regulations, China basically managed to profit. But I don't think this is going to last forever. I think China will have to realize that others are going to come to the forefront. Canada can do it. Australia can do it. It's just a question of time that we will manage to do this. But meanwhile, this is a big weapon for China, as I mentioned. So we need to get ready for this.
Meanwhile, the US-China trade tensions, I mean, how are they impacting the trade with Europe?
Well, now we have to realize that US is basically realizing that it doesn't have the leverage that it thought it had on China. And it's trying really to calm down, basically, the relations. Yeah, this is everything we see, even on export controls. The US is ready to export as something really that I never thought they would export, like the new NVIDIA Blackwell GPUs, which really give the US the comparative advantage on the AI space. Why? Because Trump is increasingly trapped. This is not a good news for Europe because it means that China and the US will get along probably to our detriment. So this is a big point for Macron in his visit. Make sure that we're not cornered in this increasingly cozy relation between the US and China.
And finally, before we let you go, I mean, Macron also expected to try and get China to put pressure on Russia in Ukraine. I mean, how is that conflict affecting the trade relations?
Well, let's be very frank. I want to be quite honest here. China needs Macron not for Ukraine. We need China for Ukraine. China has not been there for 4 years. Forget it. The peace agreement between the US and Russia has the green light of China. China is not going to help us on this. However, China would very much like to have Macron help China on its quest for Taiwan. And why is this the case? Because at the end of the day, France is part of the Security Council. And China is starting to make moves with letters against Takaichi's comments on Taiwan. This is going to continue. So in that regard, Macron is a very important piece of China's quest to rewrite the end of the Second World War, that Second World War order, the San Francisco Treaty, you name it. All of that is something which Macron could help China. So this is what I think China is after in this visit.
Okay, definitely one to watch. Alicia García Herrero of the Bruegel Institute in Brussels, thanks very much indeed for your time.